Thursday night. God dang, it's hot. Hot. Sending out my draft grades. People are getting mad.
People don't know you well, do they?
No, they don't. They have no idea. The AC in my house is not. I got to turn this son of a bitch down way low. It's freaking May. It's 90. It was 95 today. It's 98 tomorrow. Vegas, baby! Let's do it. What's up, Petro?
We had 72 degrees for Cinco de Mayo today.
Isn't that wonderful?
Better. Beautiful. Absolutely spectacular day.
Especially since you had a living hell of a winter.
Yeah, we had some rough ones. It wasn't. I mean, we had a rough couple of weeks. We had like 2 weeks where it didn't get above 14. It was like being in Minneapolis. I will tell you that it didn't seem that rough because, as we've discussed, I took the quarantine stay home thing seriously. So like all I did was see it be cold outside. Other than the 9 degrees, I watched the Super Bowl in.
That's right.
But, I mean, I have cold weather gear and we had a fire pit, thanks to my guys at All Weather Decks. So, listen, no complaints here. I have nothing to complain about.
I got to say, looking back on it, during the pandemic, your discipline of staying in and staying away from people, you really are a guy's guy.
You know what it is? I think I've had so many years of being out and about. It was, I
needed a year off.
Yeah, right? So, like, I'm the guy that if anybody wanted to go do something, they call me and I'd never say no. Like, okay, yeah, I'll come meet you. Yeah, I'll go do that. And then, like, I was out. Like, I could just chill. And I did not enjoy the pandemic, but I enjoyed that I had nowhere to go. I had nothing to do. I spend my whole life being like, okay, I got to go by and do that. This person wanted to do this and this person wanted to do that. And, like today, I had 2 things to do today, right? I did my first second remote. I was up the 139th Airlift Wing in St. Joe for the U.S. Air Force Reserves, Colonel Cluck and the crew. By the way, I didn't tell you about this. I went up in the C-130 Hercules, got to be in the cockpit for takeoff and landing, and got to be in the back when they opened the doors and did a drop.
Wait, what is that? Is that a helicopter?
No, it's a so if you just Google C-130 Hercules, you'll see what the picture is. But it's a 4-engine propeller heavy lift plane. It can carry like 1 tank or I can't remember how many troops. So it's a good sized plane. Like I said, 4 propeller engines. It's been in service for a long, long time. They keep repurposing the airframes. In fact, that's probably going to end up being in the air for 100 years. When it's all said and done. But the guys up there in St. Joe, they're on call. They deploy all over the world. And, they're having an air show Saturday and Sunday. And it was free. All you had to do was go to the website and get a ticket. So the Thunderbirds were up there. Got to watch them practice. We were up there on Friday for the practice. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. All kinds of, stunt pilots and different kinds of aircraft and everything that were up there. And then get a chance to I had the headset on in the cockpit for the takeoff. Standing up in the cockpit, looking over, hearing, all the communications that are going on and everything. It was just, it was really cool. Anyway, that was my first remote up there at that. And then today, Salty Iguana for Cinco de Mayo, great Mexican restaurant that we
Wait. You only did one location. I thought you might be doing a tour.
We've done that in the past with Corona. We do our Cinco de Mayo tour, and usually we do like 4 or 5 remotes leading up to it. But, I was like, I'll go outside, right? We'll do the patio. So we kind of had to have patios and, everybody was kind of doing something different. So we didn't have our normal deal, but we did get outside at Salty Iguana, which is down by my mom's house where I grew up. And it's a place I've been to many, many times. So it was very cool being out there. Got to see a lot of people. And so we had it was pretty cool. But my point, got way sidetracked there. My point was I had to go to a remote. And then my wife's work was having right over not far from there a drinks on the driveway festivity. Everyone in their offices, they completed their vaccinations. And so they still did it outside on the driveway. Everybody got together and had drinks out on the driveway. So I had to go there. And I was like, I'm swamped. I mean, I don't know how I can get all this done. Like I've got 2 stops today. Unreal. I haven't driven to 2 different places in one day in like a year. So it was, it was rough. Is that my audio?
No, it was mine. I was actually coming through the computer, the camera mic, and not my regular mic. Good job, Cam.
Nice
Appreciate
job,
it. We have so many producers. So many. They're all not as good as Ari, but they do a hell of a job. Helping a show prep too, especially on the terrestrial side. Do they have good Mexican food in Kansas City, in either state, anywhere in that area?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, listen, it probably all leans more towards Tex-Mex than where you go like truly authentic. But I think, I think getting better and better. Salty Iguana's been around for 30 years, so they're doing something right. So I enjoy it. I like their iguana dip. I think their salsa is great, and that's underrated. Like bad salsa kills it, because I want to eat 6.5 pounds of chips and salsa.
I was going to
say
I
consume 1,200 calories.
You might be one of the more voracious dudes I know when it comes to chips and salsa. You love chips and dips.
I do, and I love a curved chip that I can get a good 3/4 of an inch thick scoop of salsa. I take it like 1 part salsa, maybe 2 parts salsa, 1 part chip is a good ratio for me.
So you've decided here and there to open up the wallet and actually enjoy some good food, because your mindset a couple weeks ago is, I'm just going to do everything at home. I don't need to go out. I
was on remote. We were there promoting the location.
Okay.
I did have good food at my wife's friend's house. She is part Mexican, and she made 3 different kinds of guacamole. It's fantastic. So I will say that, yes, I ate well tonight.
Is there anything worse than a place that only brings out the 1 bowl of salsa? What are we doing?
No, they should rot in hell. And it's criminal. And don't bring it out to me in some little dish that's like this deep.
Oh, that's what it is. That's what it is. We used to go somewhere.
A bowl. We need a bowl that runs like 4 inches deep.
That's the Petro thing. I remember going out, and he's like, where do we used to go? It might have just been like a chain place, not even a Mexican place. But I remember you constantly being like, bring out a giant bowl. God damn it. Not the little bowl. I don't remember. I know we went somewhere. Now it's a flashback. I'm like, yep, Petro's.
I would order, I would say, listen, and I don't want the little dish. Can you bring me like a bowl? Get a bowl of salsa. Because that's what I would like.
I feel like it's one of the Kansas City places that you've taken me to for happy hour before we do the baseball draft.
It could be.
Is that on the board? Was on the border of the place that Chuck Powell ran the 40 and tore his pants? Chuck Powell, KJR in Seattle. It was like 100.
Ranger. It was a $100 bet. I said JB would smoke him.
Yep.
And he did. And then Chuck tried to blame the fact that he was in boots or he had to run bare feet or something. And he ripped out his asinine 50-year-old man wearing ripped jeans.
He ripped them more. Was that on the border? Was that on the border? Was it like Chevy's?
It was some chain place. It wasn't any place. Yeah, it was just like a chain place. I think we stopped to grab beers because it was on the way.
And I just remember how angry you would get having to ask for 80 refills of a little bowl, and you're just like, bring out a bucket, please. Let's go.
Well, and walk around like the places that have, like, what would you call it? Like a jug, and they just come up and pour it in. Right? It doesn't have to be tea in a pitcher. You can have a pitcher of salsa and you come in and you fill it up.
A goblet. Okay?
Yeah.
Bring out a goblet of salsa.
Fucking A, Cotton. Let's go. I mean, nobody wants to we're not 5 where you just like, oh, I'm experimenting with salsa. I'm going to get just the corner of the chip in salsa. No bullshit. We're taking a chunk out of there, a divot. We're scooping and we're shoveling it in. The chip is the shovel.
Does the Vegas audience realize for just about 10 months that we've been doing this, you have not experienced any of Soren's behavior and demands outside of his house? It's a whole different world. Soren at restaurants. It just hit me. I'm like, holy crap. Things are opening up. Welcome back, Petro.
I am not afraid to hold, add, double, or extra anything that might be part of the equation. In fact, I don't know that I have an order that doesn't have a hold or an add or a double. Oh.
Who gets more worked up, Cofield or Petro? It's not even close.
You get more worked up on the radio about things sometimes.
I do, yeah.
but I get more worked up, like
in person.
Yeah.
And you're not nasty to people because the ranting and raving will be to us. You're not going to freaking tear.
No. I just usually take it and then bitch later. Yes.
Yeah. I actually, I'm not going to get into it, but I had a little TV meltdown at the end of the show today because I couldn't find Bar Rescue and I couldn't find Yellowstone last night for like 35 minutes. And I just flipped out about a la carte television. And I'm like, I'm stupid. I don't know why I cut the cord. I don't know why I ripped cable and DirecTV. I'm too old. I don't have the patience to be looking around. I can't find shit. I'm stupid. So it got ugly.
Listen, isn't that one on Peacock? Isn't that why I got talked into getting Peacock on the last show?
Well, the hilarious thing is I saw I kept looking it up and I saw one mention of Peacock and then every other mention was Paramount. So I signed up for like 3 different Paramount. I have a feeling I'm like in a week I'm gonna be paying Paramount like $38 a month. And then I think you're right. As it turns out, I think it's Peacock. So I'll try Peacock tonight.
I signed up for Peacock, I think this time last week. And so my 7-day free trial is over. And do you know how many shows I watched?
Don't tell me, please. You got no value? Exactly. Yeah, I'm the king. Well, I'm actually not the king of it. The queen of it lives with me. She loves to sign up for free trials, and then she forgets we have the channel. And then I do most of my stuff through Amazon. So I can, every once in a while, look at the menu of Amazon on the billing end, and I'm like, there's like 9 channels here. You don't watch this. What are we doing? Like $70 a month of shit you don't watch. Like, wake up. But you get caught up in the moment because what happens is you look something up, and they're like viewing options, and it's like Philo, Fubu, this, that. And you just, over the course of like a month, you sign up for 7 new things, and you watch 1 episode, and you're out.
Yeah.
She's got Apple TV. I have no idea if she watches it.
I have Apple TV. I don't think I've watched anything since what was it? Ted Lasso? Was that
Ted Lasso? Yeah.
Ted Lasso?
Yeah.
That's right. I can. Which I really enjoyed, and I think there are things on there I want to watch. I think I'm gonna have to go to the rotation of like, okay, get the channel for 3 months, binge watch everything you want, then drop it. And then go on to another channel, right? Like I want to watch a bunch of Star Trek stuff on Paramount, but I've yet to do it. Because I'm one of these guys that like, when I start a show, I'm like, okay, I got to finish it.
Right.
Like I was grinding on Better Call Saul forever. And I finally wrapped that up, which I enjoyed. And now the problem is like my daughter, I watch Star Wars with my oldest daughter. Right. I watch Marvel stuff with my younger daughter. And so they've got shows coming out now. And so now that's like eating into my, like if they want to watch something, I'm not going to say no. So like that eats into my time that I could be watching something on one of the things we're paying for. But I'm happy to be getting my money's worth on Disney. I can say that we're getting our money's worth on Disney.
That said, I feel like I'm paying for Disney like 7 times over.
I have been on the phone, which is an intriguing obstacle course to try to actually wrangle the right person on the phone. I have talked to people. It's a bundle, but there's still a Hulu guy, an ESPN guy, and a Disney guy, and they'll all tell you they're not the guy you need to be talking to.
I have ESPN Plus on like 5 different bills. I don't know which one's the right one. I'm just getting charged up the wazoo. So as I joked today on the air, my whole complaint with cable and satellite, I was at like $175, $180 a month, and I think I'm at like $1,000 a month now. So, but it's all hidden. It's all hidden and coded, and you can't find it. So.
Yeah, right. No, I'm 100%.
Hey, you know what? I'm getting airline points though, so that's all that matters.
Oh, are you? Good for you.
Yeah,
that's great.
Getting the airline point.
Let me know how that works because since they're only charging triple for everywhere you want to go. Oh, yeah, they were all nice at the pandemic started. Oh, no, we're going to hold that. We're going to honor that for 2 years. Well, 2 years from the time you booked it. Oh, hey, look, coming out of it, let's go ahead and take that flight down to Florida. I know it's triple from $340 round trip to $1,080. That's what I found out about the flight to Florida.
I feel like lots of companies are like, you know what, the last year sucked. We're going to lie about shortages We're going to consolidate what we offer, and we're going to raise all the prices between the airlines, lumber, which if you listen to Cofield and Company, we talk real estate all the time with Dustin Hart. Lumber, I was just talking to my mother the other day. She's like, we're trying to get our bathrooms done, and the lumber's like triple the price, and God damn it. And you wonder where I got my attitude from. And then the latest one is I got this little pool in the backyard, and I got a guy who does the pool. He already raised my price, with a weekly price, a monthly price, a little bit, because he's like, there's a chlorine shortage. And I just read yesterday, yeah, it's gonna be real bad. I'm like, what happened to the fucking chlorine? Like, I think they're just
no. I can tell you that. I just heard about that.
Somewhere.
That one's legit. There was, I found out about this over the weekend. In fact, everybody should be worried because like there is a shortage on chlorine. And so they don't know that like there's enough to get through the summer. There was a factory that like had an explosion
in Louisiana.
Yeah.
It's typical. There's always
or at least that's the tall tale that's going around.
There's
right?
always one factory. Yep. Yeah. You know what? The lumber. Yeah. There's a shortage. Trees in this one state is a problem. There's trees everywhere. Come on. Yep. There you go.
It was next door to the fireworks factory that got set off in Naked Gun.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Lumber's up 500%. Can't fly anywhere. Gas is going to be $7 a gallon. They're going to make up everything they lost or they didn't make this last year. By the way, it's all industries. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, listen, I left a lawn company, that puts the you don't know about this because you people don't have lawns in Vegas, but you get your weed thing and your fertilizer and all that. And this company, they would hit you for like 5% raise every year. And then in the midst of like the mortgage crisis, they crunched you for a fuel charge of like $10-15 or like 10% for the fuel charge. Fuel went back down. Fuel charge didn't go away. And they're kicking 5% compounded every year. I was like, no, I'm done. That's it. I don't care how many degrees you tell me the guys have that are coming. I'm not paying time and a half what I started with 8 years ago.
There you go. Lumber asked my brother-in-law from their new house contract that was signed well before all this mess. Yep. Haskell says it's total BS. By the way, what's up, Nick? They're withholding, and raising prices to make up for COVID losses. Lumber yards and mills are full and busy. My source on this one is a guy on TikTok driving a truck, some semi driver, and he's like, I was just at a factory or I was just at a lumber yard. The lumber's piled high. I'm like, okay, I trust the TikTok guy. Let's do it. And I trust Haskell too.
I trust truck drivers.
Nick, you filled in for Mitch, right? Bowling, like 8 years ago. What was your series? Can't remember. Very competitive. Yep. Average new house build is up more than $36,000 since last year. Yep. Let's do it.
Well, they're capitalizing on all the billionaires that made trillions of dollars, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Air fryer expert, now keto expert, and truck driver.
100%.
For all my news.
Well done, Brady.
And somehow a bevy of 18-year-olds with giant cans. They're everywhere now. Everywhere dancing. Didn't know, but they're everywhere. They're on TikTok. You didn't bowl a 600. Get the fuck out of here. 600. It's a 3-game series. You didn't have. Maybe you did.
That's 200. That's 200 each game.
He was pretty solid. Pretty
good.
Yeah, because Mitch Moss, who's now at VSiN, Mitch was about 170 bowler that year. And
I would need 7 rounds to get to 600, at least minimum.
Yeah, we had a good group. We had 3 of us were getting hammered, and the other one I think was doing yayo, but we were pretty solid.
Did you roll on the Sabbath?
Wait, what? What is that, a joke from Kingpin?
No.
What is that from?
You don't know what that's from?
No, I don't know what it's from.
I wish I could remember the whole lead up to it. And I sure as shit don't roll on the Sabbath.
Lebowski?
Yeah, Big Lebowski.
All right.
Market 8. Is it market 8? What's the number he says? He goes, I'm not marking at 8. And he pulls a gun on him. He's pointing the gun at him to go over the bowling score. You don't remember that scene?
No.
Oh, my God. So fantastic. John
right.
Goodman, Steve Buscemi, their bowling squad, fantastic.
All right. So we got
over the line. That's what it was. So over the line.
We got Lebowski, Bowling Talk. We got plywood prices.
I'm gonna go watch a little bit Big Lebowski right after this.
Let's just close this down. NFL draft. What are you talking about? Did you have a problem with my grades that I sent out? Raiders
nailed it.
Raiders B+, Chiefs C+.
I thought you nailed it, and I think everybody who knows you knows that you are absolutely 100% serious.
I'm completely objective. I don't favor the Raiders at all.
You are objective.
Don't love Las Vegas.
You are objective.
I actually am. I've been. I'll tell you locally. I've been a little. Well, I mean, our station. We have multiple stations that talk football. So we've got Raider Nation Radio 920 AM, and then we've got ESPN Las Vegas. Our station has people who are, I think, are very critical of the Raiders. So I've actually been sort of the voice of reason. Every day I come in, I'm like, God damn, guys. Like, I don't know if it was that bad. Like, let's let it develop for a year or two. It's just been just a power slam every day.
This team is going to be in San Antonio in 3 years. It is screwed.
Well, the Raider Nation Radio guys, they like the draft. So
I had you on the drill on Monday.
Was I negative?
Well, first of all, it was probably one of our finer pieces of radio we've ever done.
Here we go.
Two morons who couldn't think of a name or get a name right.
Dude, I don't know what, because you're not great with names, but you know what happens? I say a name and I know immediately. I'm like, I think I just said that. And I was talking about the retooled offensive line with the Raiders because they got rid of the three of the expensive guys. And I called Andre James Nate James of Duke fame, and I think he just got a job somewhere. And it took me like a minute, and I was like, okay, I meant Andre James, not Nate James, the 6'6" Coach K player.
Right.
Then, like, as I went to mention Trent Brown, like it went out of my head, and I was like, the big guy.
Yeah.
and then I got.
It was even better because you rattled off two names.
Yeah.
And then couldn't think of the third, and you just called him, and the big guy who went back to New England.
Right. I was kind of right.
Yeah, so, you're 100% correct. I know what you're talking about.
And then I guess I shouldn't have corrected you because it's your show, but I mentioned Derek Carr, and then you called him David Carr. And I was like, Derek Carr. Trying to be real quiet underneath you. And then I was just like, forget it. I went on a Boston radio show, and the something happened with the guest before me. This was like 3 weeks ago. Something happened with the guest before me where he screwed something up. And I came in and I'm like, I'm going to be good. I'm going to be the nuts. And I swear to God, I called Bill Parcells 4 times before I was like, Belichick, God damn it. And they're just like, why do we have this guy
on? Yes. Listen, I've been there. I feel your pain. The problem is when you come on, I don't think it's real radio.
Right, because we're doing this.
I'm like, it's this just, jackass friend from the past. So like, I'm not sharp. Like, you come on and it's like, oh, let the chair out. Ease back, whatever. It's just bullshit time. I don't focus. Normally I have laser-like focus.
Wow. I mean, it also depends on your market, what you're looking for. If you're looking for, I guess if you're looking for someone who's going to be more pro Raiders and might be a little combative and battle you, then I'm not the person. I am down the middle. I'm like I said, I'm a little more glass half full with the Raiders than some of the other people locally, but I'm not a Raiders fan. So I do look at it. Everything I say about not everything. Some of what I say about the Raiders is tinged with the fact that like we got the NFL. Like I want it to be good. We invested $750 million in this. Like I'm a Vegas fan. Like I'm not a fan of any particular teams here. I like UNLV probably more than the other teams, but like I'm not a fan of the teams. I'm a fan of Vegas, and I want to see all of them do well. And when they don't, hey, I'm going to call them on it. And the Raiders these drafts have been weird.
Right. No, listen, I think you tend to, when you cover a team, you're always going to want to look for the positive, right? Because the fans want to win, and so you want to see where that's going. But I have a real problem with the people, and I think we've talked about this before. Like if you give an honest opinion, you're like, well, I don't think that's good. Like right now, I get not too much, but I know it's going to come. I'll tell you what I'm going to get it. Nobody's saying shit to me about Adalberto Mondesi not playing for the Royals, but he's been this big tease for like 5 years. He debuted in the World Series in 2015. He's yet to play more than 102 games. He's yet to have an on-base percentage over like 302. His career on base is like 285 or 275 or something like that. But he'll have 3 weeks where you're like, my God, this is the MVP of the league. Like, this guy's a star. And yet he's always hurt. And so I've been like, listen, I get it that he shows flashes, right? But you don't get trophies for the team that has the flashiest player that can't really do shit, right? There's no trophy you get to put in your trophy case. It's not like soccer where they have 7 tournaments going on and the season championship. Well, we got flashiest player over here with Mondesi. And so I've said, I keep talking about how, like, listen, at some point, like, now you've gone too far. They have no choice but to live with him. But you need a guy who can actually play. And so Royals fans get pissed off. They're like, oh, what are you talking about? He's a great player. I'm like, he's not a great player. He has great tools and shows great flashes. He's not a great player. Mike Trout's a great player. He shows those flashes almost all the time, and he plays almost all the time. Well, I mean, I think that's, if you look at a draft and you go, I don't think that's that good. Like, the fans get all pissed off, right? The ones that just, listen, they just want the team to be there for them. And for whatever reason, I consider it like they think if they're really positive about the team, even when it sucks, that like one of the guys might invite them over for dinner and they might be in the club. Like they might be one of the guys. So anybody who doesn't just love on them constantly is a hater.
They don't care who you are. You're not going to advance in the media any further. The players don't care. And in fact, we've heard stories about Vegas Golden Knights players with media members who cozy up to him and want to, when we're back in normal times and they sit there and they chat with him and try to be all casual with him. A lot of the VGK players are like, who the fuck are these guys? Can we just be professionals in here? Like, I don't want to sit here and chit chat because this guy wants to be a pal and tell his friends he got to talk to whoever, Marc-Andre Fleury.
You're not going to be a friend with any player until they're done playing and they join the media.
Here's the thing. You don't want to be a friend with them.
No.
Because there is going to be a day, and this includes coaches. You can have a professional, working relationship, but there is going to be a day that you are going to have to be a little bit critical. And if you set yourself up as a friend and you're always kissing their ass, then they might actually might notice you. Like, hey, you prick.
One of the hardest things I had to do was we used to have Mark Teahan on every week, and you're not going to find a better guy. A stand-up guy on and off the field, great teammate, funny guy, would give a real opinion on the air. And for like one half of one season, he could turn on the ball, right? Mark Teahan, one of the prominent figures in Moneyball. And he could turn on the ball. But the rest of his career, it was all the other way. Big linebacker-looking guy, left-handed, and hit it the other way. One half of a year, he could turn on the ball and we're like, oh, my God, he's finding it. Never got back to it again. And just talking about, hey, Mark hadn't been able to do it when he wasn't on the show and having to, break down what he was doing was hard. And then when he got traded to the White Sox, and I think the Royals got the better of the deal, the White Sox are like, listen, we can get this guy to turn on the ball. That's hard. Yeah. If you're buddies with guys that you have to critique, it's difficult. And listen, we didn't go to dinner with Teahan, but he was on with us every week. Dude,
I would have it happen every once in a while. I'm not going to say all the time. Every once in a while with a UFC fighter. Especially the locals. Like fighting, the nature of fighting is, it's this and then probably this, or it's this and they're going to be up and down. And sometimes you got to write. Like we had a guy here, he's still here, Roy Nelson, who's kind of a cult figure, heavyweight, big belly, but could win fights. And, I'd talk to his wife, friends with them to a certain level, but it's like at some point, when, Roy Nelson wasn't in shape, couldn't go more than a round and a half, I'm going to write it and talk about his gas tank. And then, next time you see him, like, oh, that wasn't very nice. Like, sorry. Just doing my job. That's nothing personal.
Listen, the best ones, like I said, I'm very critical of Adalberto Mondesi. I've been critical that I think the Royals made a mistake in not tanking. We'll see. They may prove me wrong with a bunch of guys that I said they probably should have moved. And they're in contention now, though they lost again tonight, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Yet again, after a 4-0 lead, getting 4-0 on Shane Bieber and losing is a dagger. I mean, it's the kind of thing that I think may crush their spirits and send them back to being a 500 caliber team or less. We'll see. But, it's like you have – like I've been critical of the Royals along the way. And when I see Dayton Moore, who I know doesn't listen to me but has to know the vibe of what's going on, I know people in his organization around him know what we're saying. They're listeners. They know what's going on. And every time I see Dayton Moore, the first thing he will say is, "How are your girls?" He knows I have 2 daughters. I'm married. And he always asks me about my family. He never sits there all bitter and sour and pissy. He's a man. And I appreciate that. Now, listen, I throw around a lot of praise, too, where he deserves it.
Right.
But I respect anybody that can, come right up to you and be like, hey, look, your job is to critique us. That's what we're here to do.
No, the good people get it. The good people get it. So, and I deal with mostly, decent people in Las Vegas who get it. And, those who don't, they don't. So,
yeah.
All right. NFL draft.
Yes.
You and I don't need to get into the Chiefs and Raiders grades, right? Do you want to talk about the Raiders?
I would be interested just to hear your grade of the Chiefs and my grade of the Raiders and see.
I really don't.
The difference.
I'm not a grader. I really don't have a grade for the Chiefs.
Because you're a coward?
I don't care enough, honestly. I follow the Chargers draft, but after the first 2 picks, whatever. I don't take any of this too seriously because, like in the case of the Chargers, they got Slater. They go and get Asante Samuel. Asante Samuel he could be the number 1 cornerback in the draft. He could be the number 9 down the road.
Right.
Slater could be the second best tackle. He might be better than Penei Sewell. He might be the 8th. I thought, we had Jim Nagy on today, who works with the Senior Bowl, and I pressed him a little bit on Leatherwood because he was saying that Leatherwood would have been taken by 3 more teams in the first round after. 3 more teams after the Raiders were looking at Alex Leatherwood. And I've said all along, I think Leatherwood is a decent pick. Maybe they could have gotten him later. I think he's going to be a good right guard for sure. I don't know if he can play right tackle. And Jim Nagy came back and I said, hey, what do you think Mayock saw in Leatherwood? And he's like, well, have you seen the guy? He is nasty. He's professional. But as an imposing figure, the guy looks the part, like more than anyone else in the draft. And I actually think he was kind of making a reference to Slater. Slater's kind of a weird looking, kind of a doughy looking guy, but there also are blubbery looking doughy guys who are great. So, it's to each his own.
Right. So to your point about the grades, I get it. Like I went through that phase.
Right.
And I'm not saying you're in a phase behind me. I may go back into that phase later.
I don't hate grades. I like grades from people who really follow it, and I want to hear what they think of the players they liked. I want to hear what kind of feedback they got when players are drafted. I just don't go crazy over grades with any of the teams.
So here's why I like grades. I like all kinds of other people's grades, and I like doing the grades myself because I'll save them, and 4 years from now you go back and look at them, and number one, it can be funny. Right? Holy shit, did I miss it on that guy? Right? That's good radio. Like nobody, like the GMs aren't really that good at this. So like the media people, and I know it's not you because you'll have plenty of opinions, but there is a phenomenon in the media of people who have no opinion whatsoever because they're looking at Twitter constantly, and if they have an opinion, they might be wrong, and then someone will shit on them and they lose their mind and they can't handle it.
We talked about the anti-draft grade people yesterday, Von Tobel and I, and we were like, cut it out. Okay? Yeah. Cut it out. If you cover the NFL and you hate grades, to me, that means 1, you're afraid of getting shit on. 2, you're lazy. You don't want to write your grade piece. But you don't have to rip the process. It's a fun, interesting process. It's a good reference to go back. And I'll tell you this, with the Chiefs, I don't know how these guys are going to turn out, but I do know when I talk about the Raiders and success, in especially the 3rd and 4th and 5th rounds. They had a good draft 2 years ago. They got some guys, right? Last year, who knows? With Brian Edwards, Bowden's gone already. Tanner Muse was a disaster. 2017, Gruden's first draft, that was a disaster in the middle rounds. But what I will reference are teams like the Chiefs. If you get L'Jarius Sneed and he's the starter or in the mix to be a starter, and the Raiders are putting guys on IR and they're not playing, and they have to have a crew of 17 defensive backs competing, that's the difference between the organizations. That the Chiefs can spend all this money, whatever it is, 10 guys making $8 million or more. Well, they need to get Sneeds, and they get Sneeds. The Raiders, they're not. 2 years ago, they got him, right? Crosby's a good player. Trayvon Mullen in the 2nd might turn out to be a good one. Renfro in the 5th is solid. But good organizations consistently get at least a couple of guys who can really compete at a high level and be on the depth chart in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds.
There's no doubt. Let me say first and foremost, the biggest part of the success story is 3rd and 17 is a 50-50 shot because of number 15. When he's got a little bit of time, which is why they invested immensely in the offensive line. But I do want to acknowledge that when we're going to talk about Brett Veach, who I think is a sharp and smart general manager, and Andy Reid, who has a lot of influence on the personnel, say as well, they know what they're doing. But, like, I don't know how many times, like, 3rd and 13, like, we don't even shit our pants on 3rd and 13 in Kansas City. We're just like, oh, which one are they going to dial up? That is a unique, special thing. Like, getting – first downs and getting a new set of downs to where now we've got a good down and distance and we're going to hit Tyreek Hill on this, whatever, and it's a touchdown, right? That's an element that let's set that aside, that the Chiefs have a huge advantage with that part of the equation over everybody else. But, like, the one thing that you are right, the Chiefs have gone stars and Jags, expensive guys, and now they got to have guys that are paid like Jags but play better than that, because even 8 or 10 guys that are highly paid are not enough to get it all done. So I do agree with that. The part that I see, like, if I were to say, okay, like what I want to do, like, let me grade the Raiders, I'll give you my outsider's view of the Raiders. And I'll miss on something because there's some inside nuances. Like, one of the things you said when you came on my show was, listen, they've got all these lazy defensive backs, and they're trying to motivate them by bringing all these guys in. And I think that's fair. I will say this, if 3 different guys are going to play safety, I mean, how many fucking safeties can you have on the roster? I will still come back to that. 3 safeties in one draft is obscene. And the thing that I see on this is, I get it, you're trying to create competition, but if you're drafting all these defensive backs, you're redrafting the same spot. That means there are other spots that you aren't getting to. Like, and I'll be critical of the Chiefs in the sense that you're going to hear all this shit about how the offensive line, they invest, and it's not shit, but it's all this stuff about how the offensive line, the Chiefs fixed it, they invested in it, they got things going now. And that is accurate, but at the cost of not getting elsewhere.
Right.
Like, the left defensive end might be me. The D backfield has a lot of good young guys, and their strength is their depth of corners, not that they have a shutdown guy, but only 4 defensive backs are signed. And this is even after the draft because they didn't draft any. Only 4 defensive backs are signed in 22. 4. And one of them is not Tyrann Mathieu. Now, I think they're going to get to that. But so, like, where the Chiefs had to chase this offensive line thing because they hadn't addressed it, now they didn't address secondary. And you need at least 5 on almost every down. And so there's almost not, when you consider every 4 years, except for the first rounders, they turn over, you almost have to take a defensive back and they have to make it every single year to make it work. And so you didn't do that this year. And so there's going to come a time where there's a crisis in the D backfield, like they had a crisis on the offensive line.
Yeah. So let me explain. This is my take on the Raiders, because I've seen a lot of people criticize taking as many safeties as they did and cornerbacks. One, the Divine Diablo kid, they're going to try to make him into a linebacker. He's 6'3".
That's what I figured.
So the other guys, though, Gillespie, and then Hobbs plays defensive back, and then they've signed a bunch of guys. They just got Casey Hayward. They brought back Carl Joseph. Here's the bottom line. I give the Raiders credit because they have been too status quo and sticking with guys. The bottom line on the Raiders, Soren, all 4 guys on the back end might not be starters. They cut Jeff Heath, who was the starter coming back. They're dealing with reality. We don't know if we have one goddamn starter in the group that we had from a year ago. We don't know if Arnett can play. We don't know if Mullen can play. I think they know John Abram is basically a tiny, tiny linebacker. He can't play strong safety. So they're like, you know what? We are going to attack this thing with numbers in the draft. We're going to bring in friggin' volume with veterans, with Hayward and Rasul Douglas and Carl Joseph. They're going to have an open competition. I don't know if it's going to fix it, but I like the recognition that, even a year ago, the first round pick, Damon Arnett might just not be the guy. And we got to make a freaking decision on this quick.
And I will say this, that's one thing that Brett Veach has done. Listen, he traded up. His first draft pick as the general manager was to trade up and take Breeland Speaks, a defensive end, in the 2nd round. And he didn't have a first because of the Patrick Mahomes trade. And they brought him in. The first year he played linebacker. It wasn't good. Then they brought him back to play defensive end. He got hurt. And then you're like, okay, they're going to give him a third year. They had a reason. Like, okay, we played him out of position year one, and Bob Sutton's asinine defense. Now we had a chance to get him. He got hurt. We didn't see him. And so they very easily could have been like, okay, now we're going to give him a shot. He looked like shit in training camp, and they cut him. I mean, and I remember sitting and talking to John Dorsey. John Dorsey in the 6th or 7th round, he took Braden something like that in his first. Let me look it up here. I'll give you the guy's name. It's irrelevant. He did kick around the league for a little bit, but anyway, he was in his first draft in 2013. He takes a fullback, right? Kid's name is, here it is, Braden Wilson from K-State. They then in camp go trade for Anthony Sherman, who played from 13 to 20 for the Chiefs at fullback, and they cut Braden Wilson in camp. And I remember when they took Braden Wilson, I'm like, why are you taking a fullback in the 6th round? You can find a fullback on waivers anytime you want. This is ridiculous. And they traded like a DB they weren't going to keep, right, for Anthony Sherman. So it was really like our guy we're going to cut for your guy we're going to cut type of trade. And then he played 7 years at fullback. And I said to Dorsey, I said, listen, what were you thinking with Braden Wilson? He's like, we kind of saw H-back, could kind of come up on the line as a tight end. Maybe he was a taller fullback. And we like this and we like that. He goes, but then the opportunity came to get Anthony Sherman, and so, we cut bait. And I said, well, why'd you draft him? He goes, I gave you the reasons why we drafted him. He said, I think you need to focus on the fact that once we found better, we cut him. I didn't keep him to justify my draft pick. I cut him. And I was like, good point. I think there is an element of the, hey, this guy sucks. We shit in our hat and let's move on. And let's not keep the shit in our hat any longer. Let's wash it out and move along. And I think the Chiefs have always been really good at that. Dorsey was good at it. Veach cut bait on Breland Speaks. He could have easily kept him around a third year and been like, well, he really not had a chance to play in his position. He could have justified the pick, but he didn't. He cut bait and he walked. And that's a sign of confidence that you're like, yeah, I made a mistake, but I'm not going to make a lot of them. And so I'm not going to carry the mistake at the cost of keeping another player that might have some upside to him. And Breland Speaks hadn't played in the NFL again. So, I mean, he clearly blew it on that one, but live and learn. But I like to, back to the grading thing real quick. The grades are important because you have to evaluate what you've done as a general manager. And when you make a mistake, like Brett Veach has looked at, why did I screw it up on Breland Speaks? What did I miss here? And then don't make that mistake again. So to me, as a media guy, it's an exercise for me to go look at what I'm doing. And when I'm covering the draft and when I'm talking about the draft, okay, put your money where your mouth is. When you make a mistake, come back, laugh about it, have a great segment. Because I think those are some of the best when we go back and look at it. Like, we try to make a lot of predictions, make a lot of, definitive opinions. And I do a lot of different notebooks and things where I write it down. And I like to thumb back through and be like, holy shit. We actually were talking about the key to this game or the key to this season is this. What a disaster. Every year we rank our college basketball and college football coaches in the Big 12 and the SEC. And you look back like I look back at some of them and it's like, Scott Drew. Somebody had like 8. Out of 10 fucking teams, 8. Guy's national champion.
Right.
And kicked the crap out of the team that was supposed to be one of the best of all time. You can't have that. And you can't have accountability unless you are accountable to yourself. That's why I like the grades. Now, Curtis shits himself every time. He announced on the air, he gave him a B+. I go, why a B+? Because I'm never going to give an A. I'll never give a draft an A. I go, so if you'll never give an A, then this is an A+ draft. If the highest grade you'll give is below an A, then you just gave an A+. And finally, after 2 days of me harassing him about it, he admitted today, he goes, look, I made an offhanded statement, and I've spent 3 days trying to concoct the scenario of how I've always done it this way, and I'm just going to fess up. I just made an offhand statement.
Yeah.
It was the best.
All right, so I sent out the tweet tonight, and I was like, Raiders B+, Chiefs C+. And like 5 or 6 Chiefs fans were like, that's crazy. It's disrespectful. What was so great about the Chiefs draft? Because I feel like, I will tell you, I feel like a lot of people who are grading the Chiefs are basing it on a late value pick and are like, nailed it. With Trey Smith. Yep.
Yeah.
And I feel like people get stuck on a guy, big name school, big name conference, medicals. Oh, I saw someone say, oh, he's a top 50 player. He was a top 50 player who went in the fucking 6th round, and now that justifies a B+ grade?
I've seen his talents graded in 2nd or 3rd round level as a guard. And at 6'5", 320 pounds. And he played left tackle early in his career at Tennessee. He was a tackle. He was a top 50 recruit when he went to Tennessee. He's played tackle. So I think he could play right tackle. I don't think he's got the footwork for left tackle, or he would have stayed over there. But at guard, and I'll tell you, he is a bit of a video or tape. I hate saying that, but phenomenon in the sense that you can find plenty of plays where he takes a guy, knocks him off balance, and then he goes at him, backside of the play 20 yards away from it, and finishes him off, knocking him to the ground. Or he knocks him to the ground initially, and then he lunges at him and pounds them again when they're on the ground. Right? Couple that with then while he was down with the blood clots, did a coat drive and raised thousands of coats to give to people in Knoxville. So you've got great guy, the rough, physical, nasty kind of offensive lineman everyone would want, a pedigree of being a top recruit. Oh, yeah. And by the way, a team that seemingly can do almost nothing wrong. All those combinations create great draft. I will grant you, I did give the Chiefs an A- for the draft, but that's with Orlando Brown, right? I'm counting Orlando Brown. If you look at the picks and go,
And that was great.
Yeah. If you go, undersized middle linebacker, okay, that they say lacks in athleticism. All right. I don't know why we're all excited about Nick Bolton. Creed Humphrey, center from Oklahoma. Well, you signed Austin Blythe, from the Rams, so you're duplicating the position. Then you go Joshua Kendo. You read it like, oh, great workout guy, top prospect coming out of high school, super unproductive. Shows a couple of flashes here and there, and then unproductive. You grade that down, right? If that guy's taken by the Raiders, what a shit pick.
Oh, it's
taken by the Chiefs.
Yep,
it's upside. So, I have no problem. I don't think you really meant a C or C+ or whatever did you say.
I didn't mean any of it.
Yeah, because you don't give the grades,
right? But and I certainly didn't think the Raiders had a B+.
Right. So I will say this: a critical eye of the Chiefs draft. Nick Bolton's undersized and not the most athletic at a position of middle linebacker. That's not the best. That's the negative. Here's the positive. Pro Football Focus calls him a bottom of the 1st round, true thumper in the middle, run stuffer. I can tell you the Chiefs feel he'll wear the green dot. He's Anthony Hitchens' replacement next year. He'll get on the field this year at both the middle and the outside. And I would give it a slim chance that he wins the middle linebacker job and they cut Anthony Hitchens to save money this camp. But he'll definitely take Anthony Hitchens' job next year. That's the positive. The negative is what I said, small, not as athletic, not a great cover guy in a time where you got to cover. Okay, 2nd round, Creed Humphrey. Chiefs will tell you this is the top center in the draft. And I do think that they felt that way because I don't think they wanted to take center here. I think this is one that was too good to pass up. I think they wanted to go defensive end here. And they were like, okay, we can finish this offensive line and not have to think about it for 2 or 3 years if we take this guy. And we think it's the best center in the draft. So I think they feel like they got a bottom of the 1st round guy. Like if they had 31, I really do. Every team will tell you that. But no bullshit, I think they might have taken Creed Humphrey at 31. So that is part of the equation. That's the good side. The negative side is, hey, centers are available. You could have gotten a good one 2 rounds later, right? You can find centers in later rounds. Kendo is a bit of a reach, right? Like he went where everyone says he should go, but that's off athleticism and pedigree. And so if you can unlock this physical tools, one of the things I see is he holds the point of attack, super strong at the point of attack. And then he did 15 reps on the bench, which is 30th percentile. So he's a complete enigma. I think there's a chance he ends up being how the hell was this guy in the 4th round? And we'll be great pick. There's also a chance they cut him in 2 years, right? Because he was not super productive at Florida State. I will say this, Florida State has been a mess, and so not developing there. Okay, Noah Gray, not super, undersized tight end, played mostly in the slot, not actually at tight end. Athletically, okay as a tight end, big hands, but everyone loves the idea that it gets a boost because you finally have a real second tight end, right? So trading up for Noah Gray, who most people had graded as a 7th round or undrafted free agent, like, I think that's the weakest move they made. I see what they see in him, and let's see if they're right. Like, they see Diet Travis Kelce. And if you have a guy and he has a couple of big games when they're doubling other guys, okay. The negative is he ends up being just a jag, and you traded up a pick. Now, they didn't give up a pick, but they went down in a lower round. Cornell Powell, looks great with his shirt off, broad jump, high jump, big hands, all this shit. He's 23 years old, and he didn't play till he was a 5th-year senior at Clemson. The positive spin, but at Clemson, there's so many great wideouts. Yeah, well, he wasn't one of them. Or he started before he was a 5th-year senior. Right. No. He'll body guys up. They need a guy in the red zone. He can wall guys off. He's going to be physical. He's exactly what they need. Okay, we'll see. Yep. All right, I can give you the positive spin. Late bloomer, looks the part, red zone phenom, tough guy, will be a physical guy that handles the, move the chain shit and at the goal line. The negative is it took him 5 years to get on the field. And then Trey Smith we talked about. So, listen, I can spin you the upside. I can spin you the downside. Reality is they'll go half and half. I think with Orlando Brown, I do like Nick Bolton. I've watched him play a lot at Mizzou, and I think he is a thumper. In Orlando Brown, Nick Bolton, and Creed Humphrey, they have 3 starters. And if one of these other guys ends up being a starter, that's what you're looking for. 4 starters in a draft is a good draft.
Right. And I don't blame people automatically dinging a full grade off of the Raiders brass, no matter what they do, because the drafts have been so weird. So, and especially their first round picks.
But don't you think that now it's just momentum? It's just sorry to interrupt you, Steve. I know I do that a lot. I apologize. But don't you think it's just momentum? Is like the theme has been set over the last 3 years by Gruden and the last 2 by Mayock. Whatever they did, they were going to be shit on.
Yep. Well, they hone in on guys. They hone in on certain schools, and they don't care about really playing the draft. And Leatherwood may have been the 40th best guy. They like him. They're going to take him. So they trust Tom Cable. They like Malcolm Kuntz, the defensive end linebacker prospect out of Buffalo. I saw the draft dude at the Athletic had him 200. They're like, yeah, we're going to take him 79. So that's what they do. And but that said, they got to start winning. So we've been through this over and over again. This has got to start working, and the defense has got to get better. So we'll find out. We'll find out who makes the team, who gets cut, and we'll see if the Raiders solve some of their problems on defense because they need to.
All right. So at the end of the day, what makes them successful is getting Aaron Rodgers.
Bingo.
Right?
Or at least, yes, getting him, but certainly preventing the Broncos from getting him. I don't offer the entire goddamn team to make the Broncos at least pay a lot for Aaron Rodgers. Do not let him saunter to the Broncos and not compete to get him. But yes, Aaron Rodgers would solve many of the Raiders' woes.
And I think your speaker's on, by the way. If you're not any good in the first round, why wouldn't you trade a boatload of first-round picks for Aaron Rodgers?
I love it. Yep. 3 first-rounders minimum. Let's go.
I think there's an element, and like one of the dynamics of this draft, I'm intrigued. I want to see what the Rams do, the Vikings do, football team does. I think had 11. The Vikings, Cowboys, and Panthers had 11 picks. I think football team had 10. And the Rams didn't have that many, but they didn't have a first because they traded for Jalen Ramsey. But they kept trading down, getting more picks. And one of the things I do believe in is none of these guys are guaranteed, right? So the more chances you have at getting it right, the better you'll do. I look back, one of the best drafts the Kansas City Chiefs ever had was the 2008 draft, right? They took Glenn Dorsey at 5. Never lived up to being number 5. Took Brandon Albert at 12 or 13 or 14, something like that, with the pick that they got when they traded away, whole nother story, but traded away Jared Allen, right? Brandon Albert started at left tackle for, X number of years, 5 years for the Chiefs, and played well at left tackle. They then, I can't remember, the second was Brandon Flowers. Started for them through contract and a half, and then started for the Chargers for another 4 or 5 years. It was close to a 10-year corner. Third round, they had 3 picks, right? They took Jamal Charles. How did they do in the third round with those 3 picks? They did great because they got Jamal Charles in the third. DeJuan Morgan and Brad Cottam were the other 2 guys. Brad Cottam had a neck injury as a big blocking tight end. DeJuan Morgan never pissed a drop in the NFL as a defensive back. Yet, I think that's his name. I hope I'm not confusing him with somebody who ended up being good. But I think that's his name. Bottom line is they had 3 third-round picks. They hit on one of them, and so they're geniuses. Jamal Charles is arguably the greatest running back in Chiefs history. He was phenomenal. And what it says is quantity of picks. They took Brandon Carr in the 5th round or 7th round, and he played like he's still in the league. He's still in the league right now as a corner. Like, that draft is like one of the best drafts they ever had. And I remember talking to Bill Kuharic, who put that draft together. And, you know, what he was talking about, he's like, listen, in the 3rd round, like, if we don't make the Jared Allen trade and get the 1st and 3rd, yeah, we take Albert with that pick. He said, and I think Charles was the pick they got back from the Vikings. He said, yeah, but he said, really what it was we knew we had 3, so we knew we could take a running back with one of them. And we went upside with all 3 picks, right? And we felt like if we can hit with one of them, it'll be good. That's the mindset. Like, I'm intrigued because I think teams are buying into the more lottery tickets. And I want to see 4 years from now, do we go, wow, the Vikings got 5 starters out of it. Well, they had 11 fucking picks. Right. Like, that's what everyone's going to do. They're going to trivialize it and say, well, they had 11 picks. They ought to get 5 starters. Well, but they got 11 picks.
Exactly.
Throw more darts at it. You know, same thing with the Cowboys, same thing with the Panthers. And I think that's what the Rams did. They said, listen, 1st-round picks, they're still too much of a variable, so let's go get Jalen Ramsey at corner. Let's go get Matt Stafford. Let's get Goff off our books. Let's go get Matt Stafford for 2 first-round picks. And then we'll back up, trade ancillary people, and we'll throw a shit ton of 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounders on the board, and we'll have our Jags to go with our stars. Like, let's see. Because the Rams have amazingly gone from being geniuses to morons. Like, nobody buys into anything they've done, even though they've been pretty good.
Yep.
And that's the point, like, you make about the Raiders. Like, what is their draft plan? Like, what edge do they see there? They just sit and take the picks they have.
Yep. Well, I think now they're just trying to get athletes on defense, and they'll make them fit. And I don't know what their defensive philosophy is going to be exactly with Gus Bradley. So I'm sure Bradley had a lot of say in the defensive players who were taken. And I'm sure Bradley also went in and he's like, all right, Mullen's okay. I don't know if Arnett might suck. Abrams ain't good. We don't have a free safety. Come on, let's go. Give me some bodies. Sign some old guys. Sign some guys who know my system. So we'll see.
I will say this. Like, I looked up your Diablo guy.
Yeah.
86 percentile in coverage. 68th percentile in run defense. I mean, 68, like, that's not, like, I know you want everyone, like, right, to be 95th percentile. That's actually, like, and that's playing back at safety.
Sure, and I think they looked at a guy who they can have as a hybrid safety linebacker around like a 4.38 at 6'3", 225, and they're like, all right, we're fired up. Same thing with Hobbs. The guy Hobbs they took out of Illinois, the cornerback, his numbers were off the charts. He just was never productive. That's the guys they kind of like, and they're going to go with it. They're going to try to coach them up. And
I don't think it's a bad strategy if you have coaches, because the Chiefs took L'Jarius Sneed, the guy we talked about in the 4th round, who ran a 4.3 something and was available, and is 5'11 and a half with arms that are 30, 50 inches long, whatever the hell they are, long armed and everything. And I was talking with somebody in the organization. I'm like, tell me, like, what's not to like about this guy? Like, why is this guy sitting there in the 4th round for you? And I'm like, long arms, the prototypical 5'11 and a half, 190 something, right? He's Nick Saban's dream at a corner. I said, and he runs a 4.3 something. Like, what's not to like? And they're like, well, he played safety and he wasn't that great at safety. And, so everybody evaluated him as a safety. He said, we evaluated him as a corner, and we liked him a couple of rounds higher than this. And I'm like, okay, no, they're big on Snead. Right? Guy looked, he was like number 14 at one point. He was the number 14th ranked corner in all the NFL. That dropped down, I think, into the low 20s, maybe even the high 30s. There was different things that were happening. Number one, they weren't getting any pressure on the quarterback. But, it was amazing how they – and I talked to somebody else I know that's a personnel guy, said, and I always have – there's a couple of guys in the league I know that work for other teams, and I have them go through the Chiefs guys. And I said, well, tell me about Snead. Like, yeah, pass. I'm like, really, why? And he's like, couldn't figure it out, couldn't play corner, wasn't good at safety. Those guys, if they can't find a position, they don't know what they are. What the hell are they? Which I'm sure he's had experience with that, and that's real. But with Snead, it was the exact opposite. Skip Holtz and Louisiana Tech didn't know what the hell they had on their hands, didn't know how to use them. And the Chiefs looked at it and said, this is how to use them, and they made him a stud. I listen and I hear that, like there is a lot of volatility at the cornerback position. I guarantee you what he's talking about is Charvarius Ward was the hero the year before and then regressed this past year. But I'm going to tell you, Charvarius Ward and L'Jarius Sneed, it's the combination of all of them. Like any one guy, like Rashad Fenton was a 6th or 7th round pick that graded really well as also. They have a guy that the profile of what they like, they put him out there, and it's the collection of guys. They don't have a Revis, but they don't have a turd that everybody just picks on.
Right. So back to Rodgers and the Raiders.
Yes.
Would the Raiders want to trade a lot and build around a guy who is kind of a sniveling, weakling, low character, me guy? Why would you want to bring a guy in like that?
So is this like the draft grades? Are you just, twisting tits here, or what's the deal?
Of course I am. Here's Terry Bradshaw. You want to hear Bradshaw?
Yeah, please. I love this one.
The audience. Here's Bradshaw on the weakling. I have 3 bites. The weakling that is Aaron Rodgers.
With him being that upset shows me just how weak he is. Who the hell cares who you draft? He's a 3-time MVP in the league, and he's worried about this guy they drafted last year at number 1. Now, I don't know what was said behind the scenes. I don't know if he said, look, I'll play this year, and then I want out of here, and they said, fine. Then he's the MVP in the league. I don't know. None of us know, unless he told some insiders, and they're saying it. I don't hear it. And for him to be upset, my God, I don't understand that. Pittsburgh drafted Mark Malone, number 1, Cliff Stout in the 3rd or 4th round. I had them coming at me from all angles. I embraced it because when we went to practice, I wasn't worried about those guys. It didn't scare me a bit. So I don't understand why he's so upset.
So, first of all, like the win I played when it was 50 years ago, like is never a good look, right? If you're going to analyze somebody else, talking about how you handled something, it's just not good, right? Because he's also the guy, I mentioned this on my show, that NFL Films has in an interview where he said, I told Chuck Noll right after he retired or right after he's winning Super Bowls, Chuck Noll was always riding my ass because he sucked, by the way, his first couple of years, Bradshaw did.
Terrible.
And, after being the number 1 overall pick. And he's like, I finally went to coach and I said, listen, if you would just pat me on the butt one time, if you just have my back one time, I'll run through a wall for you. And we're going to talk about somebody else being sniveling. Like, how about just do that without your coach having to, put lipstick on your ass?
I don't know, man. To me, that's kind of weak. I don't need compliments. I'm self-motivated. I will run through a fucking wall. You know why? Because of me. I personally don't want compliments. They annoy me.
Right?
You need them? That means you're weak. Now, I don't really believe that. But I think everyone is motivated differently. But if you're going to criticize the way someone else is emotionally and how they're motivated, you better be freaking the nuts, dude. You better not have had any incidents where you showed any kind of weakness.
So, agreed, right? And so the other thing is, like, he's like, definitive, who cares about who's drafting? And then says, well, who knows what's being said behind closed doors? I don't know what's being said behind closed doors. Then how do you have this strong of an opinion?
Right.
Number 2.
Bradshaw and Packers fans.
And they fired the general manager. He'll come back. Are you kidding me? Really? Aaron, that's where this is. Here's what I'd do. I wouldn't budge. Let him gripe. Let him cry. Retire. You're 38. Go ahead and retire. See you later. I mean, I'm really strong about stuff like that. and it just makes him look weak. In my way of looking, it makes him look weak.
I've mentioned this like 10 times since we played these cuts on terrestrial side. I'm really strong on stuff like this. You mean you're anti-player rights? You're anti-players asking for anything from the coaches? You're anti-management being honest with the player?
Yeah, I think go ahead and do that. And when Jordan Love shits in his hat, which many people think he will, you're fired. Like, that's the thing. All of us in the opinion business, like, for the most part, now with Twitter and, like, you know, video casts and podcasts, there are records. And when we say stupid shit, it should be shoved right in our face. Like I said, you need to acknowledge it and laugh it off or explain what you missed, right? But that's Bradshaw, like, years of just saying whatever he wants. He's not getting fired, although he's now at a point that he should be fired because he's become the crusty old man. Like, he's gotten progressively worse, you know, on the set.
I will defend him on this. I actually think he did a great job here. He planted a flag. He had a take. I thought he had his fastball. I think he's doing what he's supposed to do. A guy like Aikman is the one who annoys me because Troy Aikman so seldom actually takes a stand. He finally started to at the end of the year. He got a little froggy in a couple issues. I thought Bradshaw did a good job here. I don't agree with him. I think he's wrong. And you know what? When we're done with the content,
but what I don't like,
I will actually make the case for taking a stand. As he said, I wouldn't budge. I will make the case for Bradshaw in a couple minutes.
all right, I will say this. I hear what you're saying. My issue is I don't like when people take reports that are out there and take it as the, you know, gospel fact. You know, this happened. He said this. So now it's shit on this guy. He hasn't come forward and said, I do that. Thank you, Nicholas. That is, I love that phrase, though. It's so descriptive, right? But he, you know, until Aaron Rodgers comes and says, I want out, or I want this, or I want that. Do I believe he's making it clear behind closed doors? Yes. But, like, I've listened to so many people like, oh, you hear the he doesn't really mean that. And so now it's shit on him because I don't think he means that. You know, it's like, I just let Aaron Rodgers. Sometimes there's a fight and you don't have to pick the fucking winner. You can just sit and let the fight happen. Unless you're asked to grade the fight to that point, and then you should give a grade.
Oh, me being the MVP really screwed him, you know, really messed him up. Well, you're going to make, I don't know how much money. That obviously he doesn't need the money. So probably he should just retire and go do Jeopardy. That's the way I look at it, but I wouldn't budge.
I mean, so this is the song, right? Okay, so he's got an opinion that's great, but if we were to analyze what his opinion is, it's shit.
Of course it's stupid.
You can't get sideways with franchise quarterbacks. They're more important than the general manager. They're more important than the head coach. They're the most important person. Franchise, true franchise. I'm not talking about, like, David Carr's pretty good. Franchise quarterbacks win you a game. Pull, you know, 3rd and 17, I can get it done. Aaron Rodgers has had those moments too. The guys that can really spin it are the most important people in sports. The only people that maybe were more important than any quarterback, than the best quarterbacks, might be Jordan and LeBron, right? You got to play with the ball in your hand in the NBA. Maybe they were more important. Otherwise, there's no one more important in sports than Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Brady. Who else am I missing? Russell Wilson. Like, that's the story of the Seahawks. Like, you keep, well, we like to be defense and run the ball. What hasn't gotten you shit, and you're about ready to run off your quarterback, try scoring points. Okay, because the Chiefs, this is what I'll say. Their defense was okay last year. They were in the Super Bowl. And I think with a healthy offensive line, could have and probably would have won. They kicked Tampa's ass when they were healthier early in the regular season. Year before that, won the Super Bowl against a team that didn't have as good a quarterback but had a great defense. Year before that, they were an offsides penalty away from going to the Super Bowl with the 31st defense in the NFL. Get the quarterback, surround him with protection and receivers. That's how you win in football. Not getting your quarterback pissed off and wanting to leave. Who
By the way,
thinks Jordan Love is going to be a Hall of Famer?
no one. No one. These are the kind of comments I love, and maybe it's just a tweak. Rodgers is a coddled, whiny SoCal kid who was never told no his whole life in the shows. So, Truth from Duluth was like, he's not from SoCal. He's from Northern California.
Northern California, yeah.
I would also fire back with, there probably is no state in the country that produces more high-level quarterbacks than the pussies in California. So I don't know if that's like a Midwest thing that you guys are the tough guys. You guys are the hard scrabble guys. You got the values. California people, pussies.
I don't know if you know about the rich tradition of KC quarterbacks in the NFL. We're hoping Graham Mertz at Wisconsin starts it.
Yep. And you know what? College football, they fucking hate guys from California, right? Alabama would never take a California quarterback, nor would Clemson. Pussies. Pussies. DJ Uiagalelei. Oh, California.
Who's
Bryce
the
Young?
Alabama guy from California?
Bryce Young, Alabama. Oh, modern day in California. Pussy.
That's right, he is. Well, and go even further west with Tua. Hawaii.
Yep.
Sitting on the beach with your Mai Tais.
Softies from California.
Football players come from Ohio. Quarterbacks come from Ohio. They actually, a lot of them come from Texas.
I'm with you. No, you're right. A lot did come from Texas. I'm with you on the Packers are making a mistake here. This is an ego play. Brian Gutekunst, however talented he is as a GM, needs to go and smooth this over. I love that Aaron Rodgers is busting on Gutekunst, telling people that he's Jerry Krause, because while Jerry Krause built up the Bulls, Jerry Krause and Reinsdorf were fucking assholes at the end and could have had that thing going for 3 and 4 more years. And if you watched the documentary, you saw so much of it was about Scottie Pippen signing that terrible deal, right? And Reinsdorf's like, I told him not to do it. And then Pippen got in his head and got fucking crazy. And you know what you do when you have a winning franchise and a winning team and a winning combination? You be the bigger man. You go to Scottie Pippen and go, Scottie, you know what? We're going to make it right. We're going to pay you. They could have done that easily. But instead, they wanted to prove a point like this dumb-ass Scottie Pippen. Oh, he's complaining about his contract now. We told him. How about keep it together, guys? How about work it out? That's what you're supposed to do as a GM. Yes, sometimes you got to coddle the players. Sometimes you got to kiss the ass of the talent.
Like 30 games into his big league career, the Royals signed Salvador Perez for like $20 over 5 years. Like whatever it was like $7 million or something with an option to get to like $8. And I'll tell the story. I went to the press conference to announce the signing of him. He wasn't a big prospect. They knew he was going to be great, but he wasn't a big prospect. They have the press conference, and he's getting more money. He's from Venezuela. We're seeing how bad it is in Venezuela right now, and that didn't just happen overnight. So he comes from a country in turmoil, plays baseball. They offer him this money. He takes it, right? Signs for like 5 years, like literally like $12, $13 million, something like, we're not talking about that long ago. I go into the clubhouse a little bit later, and Mike Moustakas and Eric Hosmer, Scott Boras clients, look over at Salvi, who's messing with his phone on his stool. And they were a very unique team in the sense that, and Hosmer being Cuban descent and speaking Spanish, and Salvi's gregariousness, it was a team that the Latin and English sides of the clubhouse mixed, which doesn't happen very often. And so they're like, hey, what's the deal, Salvi? How much? This many years for how much? And he said the number. And they're like, okay. And they kind of turned, and I could see the looks on their faces like, what the fuck? Right? They hosed him. They hosed Salvi. For Salvi, it was more money he'd ever seen. And there was no like, hey, I got to get money back home. And I ain't got time to pull the Scott Boras, like, let's get all the way to free agency, then we'll really get you paid. Yep. The Royals tore that contract up.
Awesome.
And gave him a better deal.
Yep.
And then this next time, they know that they're paying on the back end 4 years, $80 million. The back end, he's probably not going to deliver, but this is their payback to him. And when they go into Latin America and sign players, if it's them or another team, right, they can say, call Salvador Perez and ask if we'll take care of you. Right? They had Whit Merrifield, service time shit, over a barrel. They paid him, and I guarantee you he's due to take a pay cut next year, they'll redo his deal and they'll give him more money on the back end because they understand that their reputation is big. That's why whatever happens with the Broncos tackle who got hurt, James.
Juwan James, yep.
If they don't pay him, good luck in free agency.
Yep, that goes around the whole league. Because I actually heard something interesting on that today. Who was on? I think it was on Sirius XM. Jeff Legwold, who covers the Broncos, was saying that Juwan James actually had been in and out of the facility, and he actually, in this case, he happened to be not working at the facility. So I think when I saw it yesterday, I was like, well, he's effed. He followed the NFLPA line and he stayed away, and now he got hurt. But if the Broncos do the right thing, and it's a complicated situation because Juwan James opted out, so I don't know if they hold some resentment over that. But they better not. They better be careful on that one.
You need to be like, listen, it's COVID times. We understand this is not normal. We're going to take care of our guy because that's what the Denver Broncos do.
Yeah.
And if they don't, they're screwed. Like, I get it. It's totally legit to say you signed a contract, you know what it says, which Mitchell Schwartz was firing out on Twitter. Listen, it says in the contract you got to work out at the facility, and the facility's open. Go in there and work out. But you can't do it. Like, at some point, it's not about winning the battle. It's about winning the war.
Yeah.
And good GMs like Dayton Moore get that.
I'll say one last thing about the Rodgers situation. And I'm a player guy. I've always been a player guy. I don't understand why people turn on their legends, turn on people who've given them so much enjoyment.
Kiss their ass and apologize for everything they do until it's contract time, and then want them to work for nothing.
Yep. I'm seeing it again with Packers fans. Listen, Brett Favre is petulant. He can be a creep. But I saw this with Brett Favre. Brett Favre's ego was damaged at the end there. And I saw a lot of Packers fans turn on Brett Favre at the end, and especially when he goes to the Jets and then lands with Minnesota. And Packer fans, I thought in large part were very ungrateful. And I'm seeing it again with Rodgers. Like, screw him, baby, whiner. You guys are so spoiled. You really are. The Patriots fans, I think, are the worst fan base of all. They're just unbearable. The Packers fans, for me, are right there as the worst fans in all of football, and you can tie in Wisconsin, right? Wisconsin's had a great run of great coaches. This doesn't last forever. You may be Nebraska in 5 years, okay? And this Packer way is bullshit. Because I remember watching Lynn Dickey, and then you guys fucking getting
Lynn
boners.
Dickey was pretty good. Don't shit on Lynn Dickey.
But getting boners over Don Mikowski because you could go 9-7 with him, right? You think about this, Petro. Think about what Kansas City has been through before.
Oh, God, yes.
Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. What I've been through with the Jets, basically my entire life, having a couple of guys where you're like 3-year run. He's pretty good. This is great. You guys are coming up on your. If Rodgers stays, you guys are coming up. Packers fans are coming up on your 30th straight year. 30 fucking years
with a Hall of Fame quarterback,
having a top 6 quarterback, and you have the temerity to call one of them a whiner and a baby. 30 straight years. That is unbelievable. The Colts should have had that. Colts were going to have Luck.
Yep.
And Manning back to back. Manning had the 1 year down with the neck. They were going to have it, and then Luck turned out to be a weird guy. 29 straight years, and you guys have the balls to not side with Aaron Rodgers? What is wrong with you?
The Chiefs waited. We had a couple of pockets. Trent Green, I think, is actually underrated as a quarterback. Like, his part in that great offense. They had a great offensive line. They had Priest Holmes. Eddie Kennison was a fine receiver. Tony Gonzalez, the best tight end in football to this point. They had that, but they had no defense, right? They had Joe Montana, who was healthy enough in '93 to get him to a conference championship game. They had guys play serviceable, manage the offense, quarterbacking otherwise. But for the most part, they did not have a franchise quarterback for 45 years. Right? 45 years. Kevin Harlan's call on the radio call of the Super Bowl is 50 years. The Chiefs have won the Super Bowl. 50 years, a lifetime.
Yep.
That's his call. A lifetime.
Yep.
There are people who were born, loved the Chiefs, and died watching almost nothing from the quarterback position. The odds are that the Packers are headed to a 50-year window of shit at quarterback when he leaves.
Yep. And then, when I see stuff like this, and I'm not sure what Q Levy's saying, talking about only 3 Super Bowls or Pro Martini Maker, how many Super Bowls wins does this equate to? Yeah, you know who the blame is on? The organization.
Right.
The organization, not the quarterbacks, the organization. Because those quarterbacks put you in a position, if you can't tweak and add and use free agency to put yourself in better position, the fact that they've only won, what do the two guys have combined? 2 Super Bowls or 3? Is that 3?
Who?
Favre and Rodgers. 2? They each won 1, or did Favre win 2?
No,
right?
Favre was 1-1. Rodgers is 1-0 in the Super Bowl.
So they've had 2. They've had 2 Super Bowl wins in those 29 years. That's not on the quarterbacks, guys.
But no, you're right. And the other thing is, but it's all it's the division. Like I'm tired of how the fucking journey doesn't matter. Right? Like nothing matters but the championship. Really? 14-2 didn't matter. Like the Packers were 13-0 when they came to Kansas City in 2009 and barreling towards their second straight championship. They didn't get there. They got derailed. But 13-0 that year, like that was 13 great weeks. Like, listen, the Chiefs didn't win the Super Bowl against the Bucs this year. It was a fantastic year, right? Like, forget about COVID, which made it even more special for me and my friends who sat outside and watched every game outside this year. But like the run, the journey was fantastic. Yes, we, to quote myself and those who have quoted me, shit in our hat in the Super Bowl. Mostly injuries. And I think Britt Reed's situation, Andy Reid was not home because he made no adjustments like he normally would. So I think he was completely distracted by it. But the bottom line is the season was still a fantastic season. Like if you give me this season every year for the rest of my life, I'll take it.
Yep.
Like that's the thing is like, yes, do I want to win a championship? Like the whole, which would you rather have? The most bullshit discussion in all of sports is, would you rather suck for 10 years? Like, first of all, I love when they get to the years.
Right.
Right? You should make a Super Bowl once every 16 years. That's the mathematical probability. 16 teams. You should get there once every 16. You should win it once every 32. Right? So if you want to really do this, would you be okay with finishing last every 12 years if you knew the 13th year you were going to win it? Or would you rather be in the playoffs every year but never win the Super Bowl? You know what? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Irrelevant. Like we can't control it. That's not an option. It's impossible. So it doesn't matter. And being in the playoffs every year is how you win Super Bowls. That's what I've said about the Final Four. Do you want to win championships? Get to the championship game all the time. You want to go to the championship game? Go to the Final Four a lot. You want to go to the Final Four a lot? Be in the Elite Eight a lot. You want to be in the Elite Eight? Go to the Sweet 16 a lot. Same shit in the playoffs. You got to get in the playoffs first. Then win playoff games. Get the conference championship games. Andy Reid had a subpar, as far as Super Bowls go, quarterback in Philadelphia. But he went to 4 conference championship games, and he finally got in the Super Bowl. Right? With the Chiefs, he's been to 3 conference championship games, 2 Super Bowls, 1 championship. That's the proper math. That's what it is. And he's got the best player on the planet. The Chiefs aren't going to win 16 Super Bowls. And they got the best guy. What you got to do is get there a lot.
I can't even imagine 29 straight years of knowing you're probably going to win 10 games and you have a chance at the Super Bowl for 29 straight years. It's like, it's not even, it's like, and
Cardinal baseball. Every year the Cardinals are a contender.
Well, and when I say I can't imagine, I mean football. So I'm a Yankees fan. Yeah, that's the way it is for the Yankees. Those are the expectations. Yes. They've only won 1 this century only, but they're competitive every year, if not one of the best teams in baseball. So, and when people hear me, my complaint with the Yankees now is the sons are pricks and they don't care like their dad did. But yeah, I thought this was a great question. As I get all worked up. Would the Packers be better off with a point person, an owner? Like, would this Rodgers bullshit be going on if they had an owner?
Depends on the owner. Like, if whoever actually calls the shots were better, no. Like, you would understand that the quarterback's the most important thing and don't screw it up. Listen, I don't mind the drafting of Love from the standpoint that Rodgers, being a guy who's had him on my dynasty team for a while and won the championship with him this year. Thank you. But I watched him the last couple of years be kind of subpar. So the idea to like go, like, I don't think Rodgers has an MVP year if they don't draft Jordan Love. I think it was time to like, okay, he's getting old and he hadn't been that good the last 2 years. And Rodgers is right. He didn't screw up the plans. He changed the plans, right? If he actually said screwed up the plans, he didn't screw up the plans. He changed the plans. But the plans, was it coincidence he suddenly got way better? Maybe. But it doesn't make that pick any less wrong. Like, okay, we've got to protect ourselves for the future. And maybe it motivates him. If it didn't motivate him and it was just like coincidence, so what? Fine. Now you have theoretically a quality backup quarterback. You're fine. Look elsewhere. Like, no one draft pick makes or breaks anything other than getting the Hall of Fame quarterback.
Another great question. John Dorsey, if he's the Packers GM, is this happening?
Interesting. He is the man who drafted Patrick Mahomes. Brett Veach was the point guy and the guy who pounded on the desk that you have to do whatever it takes to get up and get Patrick Mahomes. But John Dorsey is still the general manager who drafted him. I would say no. Like, I think John Dorsey, he has his faults. I'm a John Dorsey fan. I think he's a tremendous scout. I think he has great football IQ. He was on board with Andy Reid. And really, when he came on board, Reid was always the top guy to him, but he had more juice, right? Veach, it's not that Veach doesn't have as much juice. It's that Veach is an Andy Reid disciple. So they think the same way. There's no like big pissing match that's ever going to happen because Brett Veach's view of the NFL was, you know, his patriarch is Andy Reid. So he views everything the way Andy Reid does. That's why they're a good combination and may ultimately be a bad combination because no one will push against Reid when he becomes outdated. But right now they've been a good combination. I really think Dorsey and Reid were a good combination together because Dorsey had his own opinions and he had some juice. I would say, no, it wouldn't have happened. I would say that having been through what he went through in Kansas City and what he went through in Cleveland, he would be like, listen, fellas, like the guy may be a Titanic pain in our ass, but he spins the ball. Like, we got to make this work. I'd like to think he used to take my calls. He doesn't anymore. I'll be blunt. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to John Dorsey. Good dude. My dealings with him, people around Kansas City. His wife's a KC gal. Part of the reason why he was excited to come to Kansas City. I have nothing but positive things to say about every interaction I had with John Dorsey. Straight up guy, at least dealing with me. I heard grumblings and rumblings about different problems that were going on. But no, I actually don't think you'd be here right now if John Dorsey was the general manager. I think he understands the value of the quarterback position. Because I never heard from him what I heard from Scott Pioli. Scott Pioli would say, we talk about the quarterback, like, hey, listen, guys, you're micro-focusing on the quarterback. There's a lot to this whole process. Bullshit. The process is irrelevant until you get the number one thing. That's the quarterback.
Why didn't A-Rod refuse to sign with Green Bay as a rookie as it was disrespectful to Favre? Serious or sarcastic? This is stupid. They're different. They're different positions. I don't think Aaron Rodgers ain't mad at. He's not mad at Jordan Love. By the way, I think Brett Favre might have been mad at Aaron Rodgers. But of course, you're going to sign your rookie deal. And truth from Duluth, you backing up Brady is even dumber. So he's being sarcastic, and you bought right into it. So come on, cut it out. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. I think
what does happen? Tell me what happens. Give me your prediction. He stays in Green Bay with an extension.
Well, this is where I'll
build traded where, or he retires.
I don't know what happens with Rodgers.
Take a shot, you puss.
I think they will work it out. I think they'll work it out. But I will say this. What Bradshaw said, not budging and standing your ground, he's got recent history on his side. Now, I don't think Rodgers is Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson was propped up to whine and be petulant. And then I think Russell Wilson got bitch slapped by John Snyder and Pete Carroll and was, basically told to stand down, and he stood down because we haven't heard shit about that since. Those two guys were like, yeah, we're not moving you. So we've told you, that the story that came out in The Athletic where we laughed at you in the meeting and you got all pissed off, we're laughing at you again. So you have no goddamn leverage. Now, but I do believe.
But Rodgers may have a $10 million a year offer to go host Jeopardy, which would also come with probably a $15 or $20 million offer to do Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football on ESPN. So, he has monetary options.
This is fascinating because I also I think the Jeopardy deal would be more than $10 million.
Probably right.
Well, let's not go back to Trebek. Trebek, whoever negotiated the deal for Trebek was a moron. Trebek
How much did he make?
He was making like $12 million a year. God, which they
why didn't we go into game shows?
Well, but he should have been making like 25 a year.
I know, but
you see what
he's making $20 million a year.
You see what the schmucks, some of them were anchors, make a year. So Trebek should have been making more. My guess is if they wanted Favre would go immediately and say, you know what, I want Romo money on the game show side. I want $20 million. Favre, check that. Why do I keep saying Favre? Rodgers could get probably $20 million from Jeopardy and the $20 million that Romo gets and make $40 million a year.
So he's got a real option.
Yep, he does. But the other part I didn't get to is I believe Russell Wilson is actually a really nice guy and probably not the strongest dude, and he was propped up a little bit here by Ciara. I think Aaron Rodgers is a fucking psycho. Like Aaron, you want to get in a tussle with Aaron Rodgers, and
everybody says that.
You want to test Aaron Rodgers and his mettle.
You're gonna lose.
Soren, he didn't. I don't think he's talking to his family still. His fucking family.
I know. Let me tell you.
Off, and he's like, I'm out.
I'll give you a personal story. So Rodgers is at the American Century Championships in Tahoe. I know I reference that a lot, but it's the only time I get around big stars not in Kansas City. And we're very fortunate. Love the folks at American Century, NBC, Harrah's, what is it? Oh, God, I got 7 hats from it. Whatever the golf course is. Shit, I can't remember. Anyway, great event. Love going to the event. Learned last year not being there how much I loved it. Like it reminded me, I've been so spoiled to go to that event so many years. What a beautiful place. And all the people in Lake Tahoe were fantastic. Anyway, I go out there and Rodgers was there early on. He doesn't go anymore. Or if he does, I never see him because he's like, persona non grata. But early on, there was some guy and my owner, my boss, the president of our company, who's a gregarious guy, has all these buddies in all these different places. And one of his buddies was buddies with Aaron Rodgers. And we sent our person over there to try to get him to sit down and meet with us. And Edgewood, by the way, Edgewood. If I did somebody put it up there? Sorry. Edgewood. Anyway, sent our people over there. No, he's not going to do the interview. Well, we had this connection, third person connection to him. Had the guy call and said, hey, listen, my guys from 810 are there. You got to go on with Petro. You got to go do the interview. Right? He had totally stonewalled our people. All of a sudden, here comes Aaron Rodgers, 2 minutes later from the driving range, walking over in a straight line and comes over and goes, do you guys know so-and-so? Yeah, it's our boy, blah, blah, blah. All right, listen. He told me I got to sit down and talk to this guy, Petro, and I absolutely have to do the interview. So I will do it. I got 15 minutes. A lot of times guys come over I got 4 minutes. Spare me. I got 15 minutes, so I got to go over and tee off. Let's do it. And I talked to him. He's great. And, stand up. So my point to this is He's resolute and he has his convictions. No, I don't have time to do it. And to his credit, he wasn't doing it. Like a lot of guys will be like, no, but I'll go do the national guys, whatever. He was no to everybody. We had a connection. A friend of his who we valued said, you got to go do these guys. These are my boys. Let's go do it. He walked over, said, let's go. I got this many minutes. And we talked to him. So I believe that Aaron Rodgers is, people will say psycho, they'll say whatever. He's absolute, right, Steve? Like, tell me, like, I identify with Aaron Rodgers. Tell me that, like, I don't, like, right is right and wrong is wrong. And where we talk about, like, the GM should just be like, listen, think about the war. Don't try to fight the battle. Aaron Rodgers is going to fight the fucking battle. Right? I'll fight the battle. I'm down for the fight. Right? So I think I identify with his mindset. I'm not saying I'm in his head or any bullshit like that, but I'm saying he's a stand-up guy. Right? If you don't agree with what he's standing up for, that's okay. But if you're going to be his opponent, you better understand he's a stand-up guy and he's not going to back down.
What about this one? Is this a knock that he's black and white, no gray?
Yeah, I mean, I do think as you get older, which he's getting older, you start to learn that the world is gray. It's just, is it charcoal or is it, light gray, right? There's no white, there's no black. It's all some shade of gray. Just where does it stand? Yeah, I think sometimes he cuts his nose off to spite his face, and that may be what he's doing here. But again, he's got options. If he blows up his football career and never wins another Super Bowl and doesn't go down as the greatest quarterback that ever lived or the fifth or wherever it could be, but he goes on to be a middling talk show host, yeah, he puts $100 and a decent broadcaster, he'll put $100 million in his bank account and still live a great life. Like, the guy can't lose. He can't lose. And so if I'm the general manager of the Packers wanting to win, I recognize he can't lose. So I'm not going to fight with him.
Yep. Did I call him a psycho, by the way?
No, I think you quoted somebody who said he's a psycho.
No, maybe I did. No. But yeah, I have 100% belief that he's going to stick to his guns, but I also think the Packers will smarten up and back down.
But I don't know if they can right now. Right? There are people in my life that cannot fix the damage that's done.
I love that.
Right? And it's no one.
Yep.
It's no one in our circle, by the way. It has more to do with kids and family and people who shit on friends.
And dude, again, I'm not Aaron Rodgers and I don't know him that well, but like you, I have no problem, and I've done it the last 5 years, especially. I have no problem. Someone that I was friends with, someone that I worked with, they thought I was tight with them. It goes the wrong way, done. And I don't. There's no turning back. I will turn off the spigot, and like being friends with me ain't important, but like I have no problem. I am emotionally devoid. It's over. It's over. And I may talk to you down the road, but like, you thought can't believe you did that. Yep.
Two t-shirts. Two t-shirts I love.
Yep.
I'm all out of fucks to give.
Yep.
Right? And fuck you, I got enough friends.
Yep. I personally, I am aggravated all the time. So if I can cut someone out who's aggravating me, they're gone. And
So
it's cold turkey gone.
So to double back to an earlier conversation, like going into the office bullshit, the bullshit that comes at the office, I have not had to deal with for 13 months, and that's what I'm dreading. Do you know how much, I'm not happy about the pandemic, but do you know how happy I've been? Like, Jed totally gets it. And somebody said, well, so is Petro coming in? I mean, he's coming in, right? Like, so tomorrow will be the first day. I've had to go in twice when my cable provider shit the bed and I couldn't get my line. So I've been in the studio over the last 13 months, but only a couple of times. But I'm going in to start being there every afternoon starting tomorrow. And sales guy says to Jed, so he'll be in? So what time is it gonna be? He's like, yeah, he's coming in at 1:58. Right? We're going to what's coming at 1:58? Because he doesn't want to deal with any of the bullshit. He's been really happy not dealing with all the bullshit. that he dealt with when he would get here at 8. So like the 8 to 6 Petro is like gone. He's not coming in. Right? He's going to be here at like 2.
The 8 to 6 Petro is gone. It's over. That's awesome.
And I was like, I just realized, like, you go there and you make yourself available all the time. I am available. I would be in the office at like 7:50, 7:55 most days, and then off the air at 6, right? When our change, and when I did 10 to 2, I'd be there at like 7:15, and I'd leave about 5, right? Because I'm like, hey, you need me? I want to be here. I'm here all the time. You know what I found? I was a miserable shit with all the stupidity that comes your way, and you're like, what the hell? Like, and I'm like, no, everything's still working. We get everything done. Why am I subjecting myself? Let the plane crash happen, and after they clean up the mess, come to me with what's left over, and then I'll handle it. Jed probably doesn't like it, but you know.
And I love this. I love people in the building and radio when they're like, oh, he's only working 158 to 558 now. Yeah, that's when I'm working. You're right. That's the only time I'm working. Okay. Yeah. Like I'm up before you and I'm up after you. So
yeah, when you see my email timestamp to you at 3:18 a.m., tell me it's the only time I'm working.
Right.
Fucking whatever.
There we go.
You were gonna get me going there. I was gonna go another step further. When we're working. Holy shit.
Everybody's back to work, baby. How's the audience enjoying it? You get to go into your office now. You get to see all your coworkers, the ones you like, the ones you don't, the ones who are pain in the asses. It's all back, baby.
Are we the only ones?
No, not at all. I'm sure there are so many people out there who are good employees, who are self-motivated, can drive themselves, who never need to be in an office again. To me, and I don't want to make the blanket statement about everyone who goes to the office. People who need to go to the office to be on point and be motivated, that's a problem.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big problem.
No, but just like from a life standpoint, like I sign off at 5:58 and I have dinner at 5:59. Like I am legitimately sad about that fact. And I am sad that like, you know, sometimes like guys are only available at like, 11 o'clock to tape them. And then we run them at like 4. And I have like 5 minutes to go ask my kids how their day go. Like that's gone.
Yeah.
So like the working at home thing, if you work at home, man, I'm jealous of you because I've had a year of it. Like I wish the pandemic had never happened and I didn't have this experience, but it did happen and I've had it. And the work at home thing is like, if I could make a social statement, get us all working at home. It's fucking fantastic. Like that element of being able to see your family, like to me, it inspires me, right? It gives me energy. Like just to have a couple minutes and, I sit here at a spot where I can see my kids walk out to a little swing we have where they sit out there and talk to their friends and do whatever. And it's like, you're just, like instead of being like, oh, God damn, I got to record this. I got to go do that or whatever, you're like, that's what it's all about. It's just, I'm glad I had that experience. It's fine. I may never get it again. But I'll always, appreciate that element of what it is. And if you work at home,